I am here with WWE Hall of Famer Diamond Dallas Page. Dallas will be returning to the ring next Wednesday on AEW Dynamite. He'll be teaming with Dusty Rhodes, QT, and QT Marshall. They'll be facing MJF, the Butcher, and the Blade. Dallas, how are you doing today?
Man, unstoppable. And what's really cool is that, and I don't think we didn't get a chance to talk about this, but when I started to try wrestling, I was 23 years old, and it didn't work out for me. But I had 3 matches. I actually have a paper of the card from that night, Handsome Dallas Page. I thought it was a tribute to Handsome Jimmy Valiant. As it turns out, I realized I was ripping his gimmick off. But that was in 1979. In 89, I was working with AWA and Florida Championship Wrestling. And Dusty had me as a color commentator next to Gordon Soley. And I was managing Big Steel, which is Fred Ottmer, who was also Tugboat, and his son-in-law. Bottom line is, if Dick Slater, beat Tugboat, at that time Big Steel Man, he would got 5 minutes in a ring with DDP. And I just watched a clip of it. Somebody found it for me and sent it to me. And I mean, considering I don't know what the hell I'm doing, I look pretty decent out there. Smoke and mirrors. I did a flying clothesline where we both went to the mat, which I've never, unless I was coming off the top rope, I've never seen that before. And I forgot I did it. So that's the 80s. Then, of course, my run in the 90s, 2000. And then as it rolled into 2010, there was a promotion in Rome, Georgia. They asked me if I'd come in and do a tag team. I thought, what the hell? I'll have 5 decades in if I do it. So I did it. And then I did a couple of those sporadic things over 2010, the Rumble, the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, but they weren't actually matches. But I got that from the 2010. And then this comes up with AEW. And I thought, man, if I wrestle in a match in 2020, I'll have 6 decades that I've wrestled. Dang. I know Dustin Rhodes just hit, 5 decades of wrestling. So, it's just a fun fact, and, that you could even be around that the people would even care, that's the cool part for me.
Right. That's wild. We had talked, the last time I interviewed you was October, when you got physically involved in that angle with MJF, and you had mentioned that you had no desire to return to the ring. What changed your mind? Was it that feat to compete in 6 decades, or what made you decide to get back in the ring?
Cody and I had talked about it. I wanted it to do something with him, but because of the rivalry with Max, it didn't work. But I love being with Dustin. I've known Dustin since he was 18. So I've known Dustin over 32 years. And QT's a super cool dude. And I think Max, we've talked about this. I think Max, he's just one of the most natural cats in the ring. Like, he was born to do this, Butcher and Blade are 2 really good athletes. So, I think it's good. It wasn't something I was looking towards, but more than anything, I wanted to say the first part of that promo live on TNT. Like, if you had told me March 26, 2001, the day that WWE took over, and TNT went bye-bye to wrestling, I wanted to be the guy to say, if you'd told me 19 years later that DDP would be live again on TNT with AEW, I have to say you're smoking crack. It's, something. So to get that, to make it work and hit multiple diamond cutters, you had to work it into some kind of match for it all to work. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do it, because it's just another story depending on what you're actually listening to, what I'm saying, it's another actual story of anything's possible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Anything. I mean, I teach it, I preach it, I live it, but I live it in a way where, oh, there's something even I thought would have been impossible a few years earlier.
Right, and you've obviously I'm sorry, I'm a little tongue twisted. I just got back from India the other day, and still a little jet lagged.
How was that?
It was awesome. Just getting back into American time is taking
sure.
a minute. But yeah, you've obviously kept in tremendous shape this entire time. You've looked great, but obviously, taking bumps and everything's a little different. How are you feeling heading into Dynamite?
Well, it's so funny because Jericho looks at me because he didn't know what I was going to do. And he said, how's your body now? I said, good. He goes, you're not taking any bumps or anything. I go, diamond cutters. He goes, so you are. It's not something I want to do. And I really, really, really think that this would be the last one. Because again, you leave a little piece of yourself out in that ring every time you go out there. Like just doing that one diamond cutter I do where the guy goes to clothesline me and I block it and hook him and spin him. That muscles, I haven't used those muscles in a long time like that. So I had some counter strain shit going on just from doing that and then hitting the mat. But at the moment, you're not feeling that because it's the roar of the crowd and the smell of the popcorn, that really, you don't get to do it. And I also looked at, they've done all these legend things, in WWE where they brought them all back and all this stuff. But really, besides Nash, no one's really could go out there and do it at that level. You know what I mean? Because Nash even stopped. But I just saw a picture of him after having his knees redone. Man, he is such a stud.
Yeah.
He is such a stud.
He's ripped.
Yeah, but for all the guys who are out there who do all this stuff, none of them are as old as me either. Kev's only 60 or 61. I'm going to be 64 on April 5th. So, again, I don't think I'll do it again after this. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to have fun, get to hang with my boys. And, the most fun about the AEW, and you've seen their shows. I mean, it's completely different WWE. It just is.
Right.
It doesn't make that better or worse to me. The people, the crowd. I mean, and I listened to it back, and it was loud. But when you're there, it's 5 times louder.
Yeah.
I mean, that crowd is white hot, and they were with it all. And when you really think about it, the average fan of their crew, who are out there, showing up on Wednesday nights, which, by the way, is the hardest night on the planet to bring people in,
right?
To a show because it's the middle of the week. It's hump time. People aren't going out watching wrestling, but they are. And these AEW fans, Dusty said to me back in, the ECW era, he'd be like, D, I wish you could have been there. You would have loved it. Like those fans were crazy. Like that ECW crowd, like 1,500 people they were so friggin' in the show, and that's the way it is with ECW. So that's the really cool part, and actually to do a bash at the beach, that's pretty cool.
Do you know if is it gonna be similar to when WCW, when they used to do those on location nitros where you had like the pool and, kind of like the beach setting? I mean, I love those shows because they look different. It felt different. Do you know if they're going to be doing something like that, or will it be, just more of the regular setup?
Yeah, I haven't heard any of that yet, but a guy like Club La Villa, where we were, that was pretty sweet, man. I'll never forget because that was the beginning of '96 when we were down there, and I was getting a great reaction, really great reaction. and they were chanting DDP really loud. I walked through, and Hulk pulled me aside. He was like, "Man, you're on your way, bro. You're on your way." And you know how hard it is to get people to chant your name. It was really hard back then. Here now they kind of get it's part of the show,
Right.
so it's a little bit easier. But when you can hand feed it, your promo to them in what singers, country music singers call it face mode, where they can get up to the hook and then they just shut up and the entire crowd sings the song. It's uh when they're doing that in wrestling, it's pretty cool too.
Absolutely. Um, so you're going to be working against MJF, the Butcher, the Bunny. I mean, the Blade with the Bunny. We've talked about MJF before, but man, this guy you mentioned he was born for this. How would you already compare him to, some of the other great promos in the business this early on in the game, like when they were not quite rookies, but only a couple of years into the business?
I use the words Flair-esque because to me, Flair, Dusty, so, guys that I really loved listening promos, from that era, Flair and Dusty, Superstar, like their promos were just, they were different, and they captivated you. And Flair, I would say like uh, MJF is a little piece of Rick. He's a little piece of um, uh, what's his name? Rick Rude. I couldn't get that out because he just knows, and he doesn't ever say the same thing twice. As if
Right.
he's rehearsed something, he's known what he's wanted to do. I'm sure you've seen that piece of him on Rosie O'Donnell, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't seen it, go on YouTube and just pull up, for actual Jacob Friedman and Rosie O'Donnell, and she'll interview him because he's going to sing opera at 5 years old. He's not really going to sing opera. It's MJF is opera. But at the end, she said, "So when you grow up, you're going to be an opera singer?" He goes, "Yep, and a wrestler." I just think the kid's he's got real chops because I'm around him. I watch him. He's a teacher too. I watch him with that too. I think that what Cody's doing with him is beautiful. It's real booking.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. And his rise has been, something to behold. And I've mentioned this before, but I think that's been kind of an art that's been getting lost is the art of the promo. And MJF is really bringing that back, I feel like.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And again, he can go on for hours.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard Jericho's podcast with him, but it was nonstop.
Yeah, I tell you what, there's a guy, and it's not because I'm in the same company, because he's the champ, blah, blah, blah. I've been friends with Chris a long time now, and he's the one who really put us on the map with DDPY. How about this, dude? How about the entire building chanting yoga?
Right.
I couldn't believe it because I never even want to call it yoga, but can you imagine that happening 10 years ago?
Right.
Building chanting yoga, like, oh my God. Back to Jericho, which I'm just about to do his cruise. He just texts me because you want to be on a panel I'm doing with NWO. Bischoff's going to be there, X-Pac and Nash. I said, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to be on that. But Chris is the one who really put us over because when he blew his back out and said his career was over, 3 different spine specialists say you're done. And then 3 months later, you're headlining WrestleMania against Punk. You're a believer, and he's just told so many people about it. And I've hooked him up with the app and look at him today at 49. I love his new look. I love how he's reinvented himself, a little bit of the bubbly. You know, he's always got like that next part of a character. Today he's a big man out there. You know, he's thick. He still moves like a cat. His promos are unstoppable. You know, so I think that you know, between those two guys and now Moxley in there and what they're doing with him, um, you know, Cody is probably maybe the most over babyface in the group, and he puts people over. You know,
Right.
You know, he's not out there just shoving himself down their throat. You know, he's doing really quality work when it comes with thought out storylines. So I'm really, it's a fun place to be around. And then WWE's coming here on Wednesday after, and they're going to interview me for Malone and Rodman.
Oh,
You know, so I'm still glad because I'm like in the middle. You know, like I want to be able to help. You know, Code whatever he needs. But WWE needs something from me. You know, I'm always there for them. They treated me super great the last 10 years. You know?
right. And that's great because I know last time you had mentioned how they hadn't been inviting you to the legend shows and things like that because you were appearing on AEW. So do you think that's changed? Like that's kind of smoothed over a little?
I don't know. You know, it's like they called me, I didn't call them. So and they asked if I wanted to do it. I'm like, of course I want to do it. If you guys want me to do anything, you know,
Right.
you know, if it's anything, it's easy like that. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure this will be my. I really, honest to God, believe it'll be my last. You know, ring stuff. You know, actually, Diamond Cutter you still might see once in a while, but that'll be it.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the Positively Unstoppable Challenge, but real quick, I wanted to ask you about just social media right now. You know, you see AEW versus NXT on Wednesday nights. I think it's a lot of fun seeing, you know, it's reminiscent of the Monday Night Wars, but different.
Sure.
But now you got social media, and you got fans just tearing into each other, ripping the other product. The Young Bucks, who made their name off of social media, quit Twitter because of a lot of the negativity. Which I think it's a small fraction of people that are negative, but they are the loudest. What are your thoughts on social media today? Because you use it a lot, and wrestling fans on social media.
Well, I know that. I know that my company would never be where it is today without social media. I think there is a lot of really good things out there on social media, and then there's a lot of bad. And all you have to do is look at the Arthur Borman video, and this is where it says it all. There are over 43 million views just on ours. But there are over 470,000 thumbs up. There are 4,002 thumbs down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If you can put a thumbs down on that video, you're just a douchebag.
Right.
Period. You're just a douchebag. So I think that, because of social media, people's skin has to be even thicker, because now they can get away directly to you.
Right.
And I didn't know that the Bucks quit Twitter because they are social media icons,
Right.
as far as their show and everything they've done. But everything comes down. Wrestling fans are fickle, and we all know it. We have ones that are loyal and give you the opportunity, and then there are the ones who just want to bash people for whatever reason. Why? I would never want to be those people. I mean, because it's ridiculous, but it's part of the business.
Yeah, and it's I can only imagine what it would have been like during the Monday Night Wars if social media was around.
Oh my God. I know I'd have like 400 billion followers just because I'm the first guy to have a website on wrestling. First guy, Rich Schmick from Kansas City. Buddy of mine, he went to Halloween Havoc with me. I met him online. We just became good friends, and we're still just talk today. We were talking about when I was looking for that. Him and a guy named Matt Giorgio. Whenever I'm looking for something that's going to spark something in me, that's where Motor Mouth Jack Off Friedman came from. Me brainstorming with those guys. But both of them met on the internet. You know what I mean? So there are a lot of really positive things. Rich met me, never knew me before except for talking on the phone. And he went with Kimberly when she was doing signing, he went with me when I was doing the signing, and then I brought him downstairs. He got pictures with Flair and friggin' Rey Mysterio and blah, blah, blah. And he wrote what would be called a blog today. He was just writing something up, and we had, DDPBang.com. And put it up there. Next thing you know, we started getting followers, and back then it was emails. And we had 47,000 emails really quickly. And then the site crashed. So
right.
I would have been all over that thing, And, sometimes it works against you as well, no matter what.
Right.
So that's just life, though. You got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah. And real quick, with your match coming up Wednesday, how long in advance had you planned this out? Had you known that you'd be wrestling?
We really didn't get all details together to probably. I thought the idea when they first went on TNT. I thought of it because, again, if you'd have told me 19 years ago that DDP would be live on TNT with AEW, again, I thought you had to
wrestling at Bash at the Beach.
Yeah, now Bash at the Beach, which Cody that was the brainchild of Cody Rhodes, who would sit back there and wait for different names to lapse so he could get them. Same thing happened to me. Like WWE at one time owned Diamond Dallas Page. The day they didn't pay for it, I got it back.
Wow. I didn't know that. Huh.
I'm sure they're not going to make that mistake again. But Cody got a few of them. I can't remember the other ones he got, but he got a few of them. And those are like really near and dear to his soul because that's his old man.
Right.
He created that. So, as far as I'm concerned, being able to do this at the Bash at the Beach, I mean, you notice when I was doing that promo and I said, but look who's back, live and in public, if you will. And I just shot a kiss to the stars because that was for Dusty. I think that, as far as Bash at the Beach, there's a lot of people who care about it. And it was pretty cool how for the Memphis, they brought all the boys back, to give them some little time on TV. But the guy who is there, who now is Boogie Woogie Man, at one time was Handsome Jimmy Valiant. And I don't do this. I'm not doing this today without, whenever I see him, I get so much love from him. And guys, I just love the guy. He's a super, super sweet human being.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's all going to be on AEW Dark on Tuesday. Encourage fans to check it out, the tribute to the Memphis Legends. And so as far as this match, would you say you knew about it kind of for a few weeks, or?
I had the idea like when I first came over, and then just it wasn't time to do it, and just waited until it was time. And it's one of the things that I really like about AEW. A lot of stuff isn't hot shot.
Right.
Like it gets to marinate and simmer, and you got to figure out ways to keep Cody and MJF apart. Storyline, yet still keep it going. It's like kind of what happened with me and Savage when Randy tore his Achilles heel. Okay, now what do we do? That because 2 months, a month from now, we're not going to wrestle. It's 2 months. So how do we keep that build going?
Right.
And Randy and I and Hulk and Bischoff came up with a bunch of things, So this is a great filler. Plus, I'm love to bust his balls on TV guy, but behind the scenes, I think kid's great talent, and my goal is for him, personal, is keep his feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Keep your feet on the ground but he loves the people you know, making them react.
Yeah.
He loves it. I don't think he has any desire at all to be the babyface. I mean, zero.
And he keeps it on 24/7. He's great. You don't see much of that anymore. So speaking of which, you're talking about them, doing the slow build and stuff. How would you compare that creative process in AEW to, other places you work, like WWE or WCW? How has it been different?
I'm not really I'm not as into all of that as, I'm seeing much less than you're seeing, because I really don't get involved in any of the stuff unless Cody asks my opinion, because they might be filming something at the PC and he'll cut some promo and he'll ask my opinion of it, and sometimes I'll have a little adjustment. Other times, like, man, that's freaking live. I think Cody Rhodes is one of the best talkers in the business right now.
Right.
I mean, and when you're a babyface, you got to be really powerful and strong to be able to keep those people, and especially when you're doing the other hand of it, you're booking it as well, So I think that the biggest difference is, here's what we need to get in, go cut yourself a promo, where it's kind of spoon fed to you now with all the writers that WWE has. And I don't know, if I had to read what those guys were writing a lot of times, and it wasn't coming from my soul, I don't know. I would say I don't think I would have gotten over.
Right.
Because they would have had this one vision of what they thought, and I had a whole nother vision.
Right.
And the vision I had is, I'm gonna be a top guy.
Right.
So I need to start, preparing for that. It needs to be said, like, when they did, I was just telling this story the other day, like, the reason why I gave Max the ring was WCW had Battle Bowl rings. And the only three guys that ever had it was Dusty, Sting, and me. But when I won my Battle Bowl, there was no top guys in it. And this is the main event. You can bet your ass, you go back and see who's working with Dusty and Sting, that card was stacked. But that's not how they did it for me. And Barbarian was the top guy over me at that time. I mean, Ice Train was in it, Rocco Rock, Johnny Grunge, Bobby Eaton at the end of his career. If they would have been giving me things to say, moving out of that thing where I won it, they wouldn't have been the things that I would say. Because what I figured out then is, I need to start promoting the diamond cutter, the hand sign, before it was coming out of nowhere, it was the diamond cutter.
Mm-hmm.
And really, even before that, started with the DDT, because Jake literally fell with his opponent. He tripped, and so it gave the boom instancy of the bump. I can't remember who the guy he's working with. I thought it was Lenny. Can't remember his name now, but he was booking. He just laid there because he heard the crowd, whoa, and Jake jumped right up because I didn't trip. Eventually he rolled him over and he beat him.
Right.
Like he that was called change of finish. Right now, that got over. So. Give me what were we talking about? Sidetrack.
Just about the creative process, how promos work. When you were out there, they're not giving you a script,
right?
In AEW.
For the promo part, again, back in WCW, when I could write everything myself, because they didn't think I was going to do anything, and even right up to the beginning in 1996, and I think that Battle Bowl thing was like, I want to say March or May, something like that. And I just started when it was all said and done, there could only be one, which is right out of Highlander. And it was about them eliminating all the Highlanders through that movie that Michael Hayes comes out in the beginning, with the rebel flag and dancing like only Michael Hayes could do. But because it starts in a wrestling arena, um, I started to talk about the diamond cutter as the greatest finishing maneuver in the planet. It started out, and everybody was in the beginning: Flair and Savage and Sting and Luger. If you didn't watch the pay-per-view, you have no idea they weren't in the main event. So again, just promoting it and treating myself like a nightclub. Like when I have a nightclub, I was responsible for putting the ass in the seats. So now I got to get people to get this. And the sign was pivotal with it. And again, it's a little bit different today. I know if you're, John Cena coming in, you're pretty much writing your own shit. But if you're still that guy, who, by the way, has just been unbelievable. I got to put him over huge. I mean, he's a top A-lister actor now. Right. I mean, he ain't The Rock yet because The Rock's the biggest star in the world, but The Rock is helping him left and right because he sees he's got ridiculous work ethic and talent. And I'm really happy for him and Batista, all those guys, Anybody who can make that transition, because there's so many who should go from wrestling right to acting because they're that good. But I think it's, I think it's a little bit easier over there especially for someone like Max, because he what do you want? Okay. And that's what you do. Here's what we want to get over. All right. Now go out and do it. And that's where a guy like, Maxwell is going to really skyrocket, kind of like him and Jericho, when those two get together and they did that stuff. That was super fun to watch.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Jericho. You mentioned, we had talked about it earlier. Jericho, at one point, thought his career might be over. Turned to DDPY, and look at where he's at now. DDPY has kind of become the go-to program for athletes everywhere: football, MMA, pro wrestling, obviously. Everyone who's anyone has been.
It's pretty cool.
It's amazing how much this has taken off. I've known you for a long time, and just the growth of DDPY has just been amazing. And this year, you're bringing back the positively unstoppable challenge. Can you let our listeners know and our readers know exactly what they need to do to be a part of that?
First of all, you guys sign up, and I believe it's positivelyunstoppable.com. And then we give you all of the things that we expect, because let's just say this one's going to be 6 months. So you can do some real transforming in 6 months. If you're a person who's 400 pounds, your whole life could change. If it's a person who's 40 pounds overweight with a bad back, and you can see that what their trials and tribulations are. It's like, we want you talking to the camera. Like the Vance Hines video went viral last year at this time and just blew our company through the roof, just like Arthur's did. And in it, he talked to the camera, like almost like a reality show type thing. So, but he was talking to the camera for the people who are watching to watch this is this huge accomplishment, 475 pounds. Every week he'd weigh himself live. He'd film himself doing the workouts. He took the pictures. He would do group walks and film all that. That's what made that video so unbelievable. But he talked about the mental, like today he's running to be a judge in his district. And he wouldn't even thought that could happen in a million years 2 years ago. Like, your life can change in a year dramatically. I mean, dramatically. And for the Positively Unstoppable Challenge, it's not just about the weight loss, the shape, healing your body. It's the mental work that you do with it. And there's an essay you have to write. There's work. There's friggin' work. We're not going to give you an opportunity to win $1 million, because it's still like, it's kind of like that Deal or No Deal. You got the 100 books up there. The minimum you will win is 25,000. That's if you don't pick the right book. And then we've got prizes right on down for the next 10 people of cash. So I'll never get number 1, but you get number 5. Still, that's a nice payoff, for helping myself. And so it's worth your time to go to positivelyunstoppable.com, sign up for the contest. And when Christy and her husband, we've changed the rules a little bit, because I really wanted to pick Christy and her husband Willie, the Radfords, as a unit, because they did everything as a tag team. And then Chase, who won, it was 2 different winners. Chase won and Christy won. But I wanted to really make it Christy and Willie. So how we're going to structure it this year, you could be a man, you could be a female, you could be a they, whoever that is. I don't care what you're, who you want to be. You could be a couple. Now, the couple doesn't have to be a husband and wife. It could be father and daughter. It could be 2 guys who want to train together. It could be, a married female couple or not married. Maybe it's just 2 girls or a girl and a guy that are friends. So all of those categories. And I almost think when you're doing it with somebody, you've got a real advantage, because if that person has a lot to transform, and you do, and then you got the other guy who's by himself, and you film all the same stuff that's there, and that other person doesn't, well, you're going to win. And your transformation could be greater. So that's where we came up with it this year, because I wanted both the Radfords, because they were both qualified, because Willie lost like 100 pounds, and she got shredded. Like she lost 45 pounds or something, and right. Those stories are about to come out. But so, using the Positively Unstoppable $1 Million Challenge, that's what gives you the real focus. Because if you look at Arthur, Vance, Stacy, Terry, they all have documentation early on, because at some point you start looking at yourself and maybe you're not losing as much weight and you're thinking, oh, this isn't really working. Go back to what you did at day 1 and then show where you are 4 months now. You're like, oh my God, I really have changed my life. And it's not just physically, it's mentally, because the mental part is everything. When I first talked to Arthur Borman, the disabled veteran that I helped, who's really was the phenom that he's the guy who helped sent Jericho his video. Chris said, I'm in. What do I have to do? It's like, right. There was no questions. Jake, so many people saw Arthur's video, and that's what finally moved them to, like, if he could do it, surely I can do it. So this year having 10 cash winners, so that we know that they can still compete for number 9 or number 8 or number 6, or if they don't think it'd be number 1, because that person's going to put the most work in. But all those people I just mentioned, from Arthur to Vance to Stacy to Terry, they all documented everything. So it makes it so much easier to win, not the contest, win in your brain that look what I'm doing right now. Like I'm not just changing my life, I'm owning my life. And everybody, we if people get the Positively Unstoppable book, The Art of Owning It, there's just so much stuff in there that will keep your brain dialed in to the program, and that's what's going to make you feel better, and maybe cause an amazing change in your life.
Well, if you haven't already, I don't know what you're waiting for. Check it out, DDPY, and sign up for the Positively, why is it so hard for me to say today? Positively Unstoppable Challenge 2020. Dallas, it's great as always talking to you. I really appreciate it. Do you have anything else you'd like to plug?
Yeah, not really, not really. I always tell people, the contest right now is the biggest thing that we're working on, and just sign up because you never know. You never know what could really start to motivate you, and do all the pictures, do all the videos, do it all, because if you start out like that and you put the work in, it's going to change your life no matter what. And anytime that we can help to change someone's life for the better, that's super karma. Now, I use up all my karma driving, not where I'm cutting people off and stuff. I just drive like a wild man, uh, and I use up all my positive karma there. But I need more karma like that, so nothing happens to me. Uh, I'm excited about this year and what 2020 is going to be. It's been the most growth spurt we've had ever on with our program right now. So, I know it's changed a lot of people's lives, man. So go to ddpy.com and you'll see it all.
Check it out, and check out Diamond Dallas Page returning to the ring this Wednesday on AEW Dynamite on TNT, teaming with Dustin Rhodes, QT Marshall. They'll be facing MJF, The Butcher, and The Blade. Dallas, thanks as always.
Hey, brother, it's been your pleasure.